Henry Ford is quoted as saying, "Coming together is a beginning, staying together is progress, and working together is a success." Let's talk about teamwork and collaboration on today's episode of the Playing with Purpose podcast. All right, welcome to the Playing with a Purpose podcast, where we explore topics related to the moral development of collegiate athletes and young people as it relates to character, responsibility, and purpose. I'm your host, Matt Barker, and today I'm excited to have Freed-Hardeman University head men's basketball coach Drew Stutts with me on today's program. Coach, welcome to the program.
Thank you. I appreciate you having me. Glad to be here.
You know what, I think after saying that, I should probably rephrase that and say, head coach of the defending national champion Freed-Hardeman men's basketball team. I know you might not like me saying that, but that's something to be proud of. Obviously, the first men's basketball national championship, so something to be proud of and a great accomplishment for sure.
Yeah, I don't mind you saying it. That'll be fine. We had a great season last year and in the middle of a good season this year, but yeah, you can say that anytime you like.
Yeah. All right. So before I have a few other questions we'll get into, I always like to do a fast favorite segment with Drew Stutts. All right, Coach, favorite color?
I'll go with blue. Blue. I've always been a fan of blue. Auburn Tigers.
Okay.
A lot of people, a lot of teams I grew up with blue.
Yeah. Okay. My wife would not agree with that one, but that's okay. Everybody is to each their own, I guess, right? All right. So I'm an Indiana guy, so I have no dog in the fight. Number 2, go-to comfort food. This doesn't have to be good food that's good for you. It's just whatever you like to eat.
Yeah. I mean, I like cookies. Cookies are fine. They're usually not in our home because if there are cookies there, then one of my boys are probably eating them. Roman has a way of finding the snacks and going through them in a hurry. That's my 11-year-old at home.
There you go. Yeah. All right. What about favorite song to blast in the car?
Man, I listen to everything, all kinds of genres of music. I'm on a little bit of a Jelly Roll kick right now.
There you go.
So Jelly Roll's new album is really good if you haven't listened to it.
Jelly Roll. All right. Favorite place to visit within the Mid-South Conference? This is the conference Freed-Hardeman's in. Where's your favorite place to go? The city.
I'm going to go with a court, and I'm going to say Georgetown. They just got a hot gym.
Tough place to play.
It's small. It's tough. You're in your locker room's in the basement. You know, it's just one of those rough places to go to, and I really enjoy that.
Yeah. Okay. Morning person or night owl?
Night owl for sure.
Coaches are all probably night owls.
Night owl. Morning is just by necessity.
Yeah. Favorite holiday?
I'll go with Christmas. Enjoy it. Usually some time away from ball at the time. A lot of time with family, so I'll go with Christmas.
All right. Favorite hobby when you're not working?
If it's something leisure, probably golf. Now, I say that, and I've probably played 6 or 8 rounds of golf in the last 2 years, but I enjoy working around the house and just little home projects and things around the house. So,
all right. Favorite TV show or movie? Too busy scouting other teams to watch TV shows.
No, I mean, I watch some TV. That's usually how I wind down at night. If I would just say a movie, I really enjoy Moneyball with Brad Pitt.
That's a good one.
From a coaching standpoint, it's fun to watch, and it's a funny but also good sports movie. Yeah.
Favorite sports team? This can be any sport.
Well, I said Auburn earlier. I guess I can say Auburn right now as well. Football's, I guess, the biggest passion there as far as why I pull for Auburn. But, I mean, they are number one in the nation.
Number one in the nation.
Basketball, so I'll say Auburn.
They got my coach, Bruce Pearl, that's from University of Southern Indiana, my hometown.
I like it.
Yeah. Okay, you already mentioned this one, I think. Favorite snack, cookies? Is that what it is?
If I just said snack, I would say maybe a Reese's. Maybe I would change it up. Reese's is my favorite dessert, so we'll throw Reese's in there as well.
All right, everybody knows Drew Stutts a little bit better now from our Fast Favorite segment. So let's get back to talking about today's topic, teamwork and collaboration. We've already touched on this a little bit, but so I've known you for quite a while. You started at Freed-Hardeman as an assistant coach under Jim Sanderson and was there a couple years, went to Chester County for a year and came back, and you've been entering your 6th season. So this is the 6th season at Freed-Hardeman. If the record I looked up online, 128-47, so great record. Obviously, the last few years have had some really good seasons leading up to last year where we won the national championship, but consistently have had some great seasons. I know you a little bit better probably than some of our listeners do, so if you want to give us a little bit of background about some prior coaching experience, some work experience that you have leading up to where you are today.
Yeah, I don't know that my story is really that interesting, but yeah, I mean, I've known from an early age that I wanted to either teach and or coach. I think back in like seventh grade, I had a high school, middle school history teacher. His name was Craig Canaday, who made a really big impact on my life. Not because he was really trying to, just because he was really passionate about what he was doing, and he was my middle school basketball coach, my American history teacher, and just did an incredible job. And I remember him in that class just talking about, like, if you find something that you love to do, you'll never work a day in your life.
Yeah.
I know people have heard that before, but I've always enjoyed sports. I've always enjoyed being part of a team and a challenge. And I played baseball and basketball growing up. Was probably a little bit better baseball player than I was basketball player, but just loved basketball. That's back when Michael Jordan was in his
Right.
prime,
Yeah.
and just a lot of energy around the sport at that time. And so just pursued basketball. Had an opportunity to play a couple years of college basketball. Didn't really do anything in my college career much. Redshirted a year at University of North Alabama. Went to a local junior college there, and played a handful of minutes here or there. But then hopped right into coaching. So finished my education at University of North Alabama. Was a PE major, and coached there at a local high school that I graduated from, Mars Hill Bible School.
Mm-hmm.
Had a chance to coach with Mike Mitchell, who was just an incredible leader and mentor and great basketball coach there at Mars Hill. He didn't win all of his state championships at Mars Hill, but in total, I think he won 9 state championships in his
Wow.
career. And, just being able to sit back and learn from him. But also at the time, I was coaching a seventh grade boys team and eighth grade boys team, as well as doing those things, assisting him with the varsity team. So there was about 4.5 hours of practice every day.
Yeah.
Some of those I was leading, and some of those I was observing and just helping as an assistant. But some of that experience, as well as my experience with Jay Mitchell, who was the boys baseball coach,
Yeah.
he's had great success, won 3 or 4 state championships as well. So it was just a great way for me to be getting an education. I knew what I wanted to do. I wanted to coach. I had a little bit of playing experience, but was able to kind of lead as a head coach, but also be an assistant. During that time, we started the football program at Mars Hill. We had no idea what we were doing.
Yeah.
But that was fun as well, just kind of taking a program from absolutely nothing and creating a football team. It takes 11 guys to play football, and I think we had like 16 or 17 on our team. There were some challenges that came along with that, but
Right.
all those experiences early on, I'm early 20s, mid 20s at the time, really just gave me an opportunity to learn so much about coaching, about leading, about myself, about how to, reach people in different places with different personalities. I knew a lot about the game, both baseball and basketball, but, at the time, you don't know what you don't know. And I didn't realize how much I had to learn early in my career. And so one thing led to another. I moved to Birmingham, started coaching and teaching there full time as a middle school basketball coach. Same thing I did, when you're young, they want you to coach everything. So
Right.
I was coaching golf and football and basketball, but I was doing all that stuff, mowing the fields and doing all the dirty work, which really makes you, appreciate those things now when so many of those things are getting done behind the scenes that you don't have to worry about. I had a chance to coach at corner, and then one thing led to another. I made a stop at Hewitt-Trussville High School for a couple years. It's where I met Coach Sanderson.
Mm-hmm.
Which was good as well. I mean, another opportunity to learn
Yeah.
how to lead and in a different way, where you're working with, different coaches and figuring out how to support them and help them and grow programs. We did a really good job of growing a program. We built a softball field the 2 years that I was there on campus. So just a lot of opportunities at lower levels to learn how to lead. Some of that was definitely through failure, not just success.
Right.
But one thing led to another, and decided to make the move here, 7-8 years ago to become an assistant. Just the opportunity that I felt like God had put in front of me, and a rare opportunity to be at a Christian school, to coach collegiate sports, I played a couple years of collegiate sports and really did not have good experiences there as far as maybe the character, the environment, the culture that I was in. And, I'd always grown up thinking I'm going to be a college coach. I'm going to be a college coach. And then after experiencing it for a couple years, I was like, I really think high school probably fits me a little bit better. But one thing led to another, had an opportunity to be here. And then, like you said, bounced over to Chester County for a year. And then, just right place, right time, given the opportunity for no reason. I had 1 year of high school head coaching at the time, 1 year of assistant college coaching, and, Coach McCutcheon, the athletic director at the time, chooses to give me this opportunity. I'm glad to be here and really proud of the success and what we've built over the last, 6 years. You use the word consistent, and that was really important to me. Coming into it, I wanted to create a great culture, one where guys could compete at the highest of levels, but at the same time, not sacrifice character, not sacrifice things that a lot of college coaches sacrifice things for wins, and I didn't want to do that. I wanted to create a great culture where we could compete and that we were going to be consistent and we were just going to keep showing up, and whatever that turned out to be. If that turned out to be a berth into the national tournament, that would be great. If it turned out to be a conference championship, that would be great. But the intention was to really focus on our culture, develop something special, and we would just see kind of where it went from there.
And one of the things you mentioned, a couple of things I wanted to ask you about too, and it kind of led right into that. So with the experience you had with prior mentors and coaches that you learned from, one thing that's always been interesting to me, I know your family pretty well just from coming to the games. They're very vocal a lot of times at the games, and I enjoy it. I enjoy hearing them give their feedback, whatever that is. You seem real calm to me on the sidelines, and I don't know if you've ever been asked this before, but you probably don't feel calm on the inside when you're in the middle of a game. But as far as the way that you communicate with the officials, the way that you talk with your players, there's obviously times where there's heat of the moment, something, you might be yelling or something like that. But overall, the general consensus I get is very calm. Usually you get more from the officials if you're calm instead of just yelling at them. So is that something that you learned from some prior coaches that you saw, or is that just kind of the way your personality is in general?
I think it's a combination, but it's probably more just my personality in general. You learn good and bad from different people along the way. And like you said, I think that badgering of officials and that loud, so many coaches, and this isn't a fault. There's a lot of coaches that do this and have had a lot of success. You look at Dan Hurley right now, who is extremely loud and extremely aggressive and won back-to-back, national championships at Division I level. So there's a lot of ways to do it, but I just think it fits me to be myself. Early on, everybody's got self-doubt and you're unsure if you're doing things right in the best way that they can be done. But the longer I've been doing it, I think the more confident I become in just being who I am and not trying to be somebody that I'm not. Even from coaching 7th grade boys at Mars Hill, what you're saying now is what they were saying then. Like, man, you seem so calm in such a stressful environment.
Calmer than I am doing the public address announcing. I get all worked up, and I'm like, I don't know how he's staying so calm over there.
Well, it's easier for me when I'm in charge. When I'm watching a game that I'm invested in some way, whether it's one of Abby's games that
right.
She's 10 years younger than me, so I watched her play a lot of games. So I'm probably more worked up and nervous in those situations than I am when I'm coaching. But it just kind of feels like, for me, it just comes natural, and it just feels like I'm in the right place. I know the work that our team has put into the game, and I know the work that I've put in and my staff has put in. And so, you want to get to a point where you're okay with the outcome. You may be disappointed in the outcome of the game, but you're okay with it. You know that you've done everything that you can do to maximize the potential of your team and to set your team up for success. And I think that brings a calmness and a stillness to you at times where you know that you're doing the right things
Yeah.
and you're giving your team the best chance that they can have to win the game. So
Yeah, thinking about your staff, you have Grant Burns, who's been with you for pretty much the whole time you've been head coach, I believe, all 6 years. I notice a lot in post-game conferences and things, you talk about this was a team win, not only the players, but we did a great job scouting, giving Grant some credit. And I think that sometimes translates to your players as well. It's not just me. This is a team mentality. Grant scouting the team, our scout team, the ones that you might not see on the court, getting them ready for the next game. So talk about Grant a little bit and the experience you've had with him. And is that a conscious effort or just kind of naturally want to give credit where credit is due?
a little bit of both, to be honest with you. Just talking about teamwork, obviously Grant's a young guy. I think he's 25, 26 years old, but has had a great experience here. Started a little bit green early in his career, just like, we all do. But over the years has really become, excellent in what he does. Probably his biggest responsibility is scouting, getting to know the other team from an individual personnel standpoint, from a team standpoint as far as what they do offensively. And then he prepares that scout team in practice or outside of practice to, run the things that they run in games. And, he's doing an incredible job. And I think the fact that we've been together for so long now, we both know what we're doing and what we're looking for
Right.
and how it works. And, there was some failure involved in that early on as far as just, him figuring out what I wanted and how to, communicate that and put that in place in practice. But Grant's doing a great job. That is a conscious effort for me to mention him and mention the scout team. Part of, when you think about building a program and valuing the team and valuing everybody that's in your program, I think one of the advantages I have is that, when I look down the bench or I look within our program, every single person I can relate to where they're at. Whether it's a redshirt who hasn't subbed in a single game, whether it's a guy that's running scout team, whether it's a guy that's a student assistant that's responsible for washing jerseys and hanging them up in lockers and having things prepared for us on the road and picking up food. And there's so many things that go into creating a great program. And for me, I talked about my college experience a little bit. I didn't really have a great college experience as far as having success and really enjoying it. But I do think those 2 years that I played college basketball really helped prepare me to lead a program because I kind of learned what it felt like to be at the bottom of the totem pole.
Right.
To be that guy that never gets credit, that never gets mentioned, but is putting in a lot of work. And there's guys that are on our bench that are really good players, great people that show up, and I'm not just saying this, that show up every single day that bring energy and effort and the right spirit and the right attitude to our team, whether it be in the weight room, whether it be in practice, whether it be scout team. Maybe you're not even on scout team. Maybe you're just a guy on the side that day, but they're bringing energy, and energy is contagious. And, throughout the year, I do try to be really intentional about remembering and recognizing those guys in front of the entire team and say, hey, like, these guys are bringing value to our team, and at times, it's hard because sometimes those guys, I think, forget maybe the value that they do bring to our team. And It's like, well, I can just kind of be here. I'm not playing. And you got to remind them, you got to remind them.
A little bit of accountability for them as well. Yeah,
absolutely. You're bringing something. Everybody's bringing something, and you can choose to elevate us, or you can choose to stand over there and not be a part. And, people that come to the games, I'm sure they are entertained by our bench. If you just watch our bench,
they're hilarious.
They have a ton of fun, and that's intentional. That's intentional. I want those guys to bring energy to, they chirp at the other team a little bit at times, which is
both teams do that.
They do that. I was watching the game from last week, and we had a particular situation with a player. Things just weren't going well for him that day. And I went back, and as I was watching, all I was doing was just watching the bench. And I saw 2 or 3 players, none of which played in the game. They came over to this individual who was having a rough game, and just a simple handshake, pat on the back.
Yep.
They didn't say anything to him, but those things are so valuable. Those things are so valuable because this team, as well as a lot of the teams that we've had in the past, they truly care about each other. They know the value that every person in our program brings. So, it's a team effort.
One of the things I wanted to ask you about that's more recent within the past 3 or 4 years even is the changing dynamic of teams as far as recruiting, as far as each year maybe losing players, transferring out with the especially, different levels, NCAA level with the transfer portal, NIL deals, all these different things that are maybe luring players away from certain teams to go to other teams. How has that dynamic changed for you maybe as a coach in trying to get people to buy in, like we talked about culture, but also how is teamwork maybe challenged as a result of all this changing dynamic?
Well, fortunately for us, up until this past year, there really was very little shifting amongst our program. So just talking about our program, I think the years previous to this last one, I don't think we had a player transfer out to go to another team in like 4 years. And that was something I was really proud of. We had some guys that had opportunities to leave and go somewhere else, but chose to stay. And I think the culture that we had built here, as well as the university here, was one of the reasons that they chose to stay. But, this past season was really the first time that this challenge was right here in our face. And, we had two guys, J.J. Wheat and Jaquan Lax, both who had an opportunity to move up and play at the Division I level, NIL, making some money. And super excited for those guys.
Yeah.
There's going to come a point for sure where our program potentially will have to shift in some ways and basically just pivot and figure out how to continue to build a great culture here. But also, you can't ever fault an individual for wanting to improve their situation, whether that be financially or the level that they're playing. And so you want to have this nice balance of wanting to improve as an individual, but also continue to work to become the best team that you can be. Basketball is very much a team chemistry sport.
Yeah.
It's a lot of chemistry that goes into basketball on both ends of the sport. It's different than football. It's different than baseball. I know football is obviously a team sport, but you kind of have your little teams amongst the teams. You
special teams,
your receivers,
defense,
your quarterback. But with basketball, it's very much there's this flow to the game, and all five guys, especially the way we defend, have really got to be connected. And so it's a different challenge in basketball in some ways, but boy, it's so much different. I mean, sports have changed in the last 10 years in such a dramatic way.